Mom posted pictures of their family cruise. Everyone was there. Everyone except me. Caption: surrounded by those who matter most. I said nothing. 2 weeks later they came asking for help paying property taxes. I said, looks like the ones who matter most should handle it. Dad shouted. Mom slammed the door. I used to think it would stop bothering me, that eventually I'd get used to being the outsider in my own family. But it never goes away. Not when every year they pack their bags, fly off somewhere warm, and smile like they're in a commercial for a perfect life I'm never invited to be part of. This wasn't the first time. It wasn't even the second. It was the third year in a row they'd gone on a vacation without me. Not a weekend cabin trip or something casual. A full-blown week-long cruise through the Caribbean. Cabins with balconies, champagne in the hot tub, parasailing in St. Thomas. All of it. I found out the same way I always do. Through someone else's post. This time it was Kelsey. A boomerang video of her and Tyler dancing by the pool with fruity drinks. I scrolled through the rest of her photos out of pure self-loathing. The group photo hit hardest. There they all were on the deck of the ship, arms around each other, matching blue t-shirts that said, Miller Family Cruise 2025. The caption, of course, was Mom's special touch. Surrounded by those who matter most. I stared at it for a full minute. Then I closed the app. It's not just the trip. It's what the trip represents. They didn't even think about me. Not once. It's exhausting pretending I'm okay with it. Especially when I see how different other people's families are. My best friend calls her mom every day. They talk about TV shows and new recipes. My coworker's brother drives 4 hours just to have dinner with her. Even my ex had a family who insisted I come to Thanksgiving even after we broke up. Meanwhile, mine are boarding cruise ships and writing captions like I never existed. I work at a bookstore and freelance on the side. I like my quiet life, I really do. But compared to my sister the lawyer and my brother the tech wizard, I'm nothing in my parents' eyes. I'm the one who doesn't contribute, doesn't impress, doesn't count. So I didn't say anything. I didn't send a sarcastic text or passive-aggressively like the post. I just went to work, smiled at customers and ate dinner alone like I always do. 2 weeks later they showed up. I was in sweatpants watching reruns and heard the sound of tires in the driveway. I peeked through the curtain and saw Mom's white SUV. She got out holding a basket. Dad followed, hands in his pockets like we were about to have a friendly chat on a Sunday morning. I opened the door. I didn't invite them in, but they came in anyway. The basket had zucchini bread in it, which they know I hate. They made small talk. Asked about work, commented on the house. Then Dad cleared his throat. Said there'd been some unexpected expenses. That property taxes were higher than they expected this year. That they were hoping I could pitch in. Just a little. I didn't hesitate. I said, looks like the ones who matter most should handle it. Dad looked like I'd slapped him. Mom gave me that look. The one where she pretends to be confused instead of furious. She said she didn't understand where this was coming from. I opened the front door again and stood there. She didn't say anything else. She just stormed past me and slammed it on her way out. I stood there in the quiet afterward, feeling fine. Not guilty. Not angry. Just finally done. At least I thought I was. A week later I got the invitation. A family barbecue. No explanation. No note. Just an invitation. Everyone would be there. Even my cousin who hasn't been to anything in 5 years. It was clearly bait. But for the first time in a long time I felt like taking it. I thought about turning around 3 separate times on the drive there. First when I hit traffic getting onto the highway. Then again when I pulled into a gas station to grab ice and saw a dad and his teenage daughter laughing over some dumb snack aisle joke. And finally when I was 3 blocks away and remembered exactly how these things always went. But I didn't turn around. I parked half a block down from the house and sat there for a minute, staring at their perfect little lawn, the grill's smoke curling into the sky, the faint sound of people laughing. The kind of scene that makes you think if you didn't know better that it was a warm, loving family gathering. I walked through the side gate. No one saw me at first, which was good. It gave me a second to scan the scene. Tyler was tossing a football with some cousin's kid. Kelsey was showing off her boyfriend, a guy in designer sunglasses and a watch that probably cost more than my rent. Mom was by the grill, laughing too loudly, holding court with a glass of wine. Dad was setting up cornhole with his usual too-good-to-play attitude. And then someone spotted me. It was Aunt Marla, who gasped like I'd risen from the dead. She came over all warm and surprised, dragging others with her. Suddenly I was surrounded by faces I hadn't seen in over a year. Everyone acted like nothing had happened. Like they hadn't all gone on a cruise without me. Like they hadn't excluded me 3 years running. Like they hadn't just shown up at my house asking for money and left in a fury when I said no. Mom came over and smiled like a politician. She hugged me lightly, told me I looked refreshed. a word she uses when she's trying not to say older or tired. I asked her what she meant and she waved it off. For about 20 minutes, things were civil. Forced but civil. I sipped my drink, ate a few bites of grilled chicken, listened to Kelsey talk about some massive deal she closed, and smiled when people asked me what I'd been up to. I told them I was still working with books and they all gave me that look, that soft, condescending nod people give when they don't know how else to respond. Then, right as I was thinking I could probably sneak out early without causing a scene, Mom tapped her glass with a fork. Everyone turned toward her like it was a wedding toast. She smiled and thanked everyone for coming, said how grateful she was for the family being together, how hard times had made her appreciate the people who really step up. Then she looked straight at Tyler, and then at Kelsey, and said, "We're blessed to have kids who show up, who help, who don't make us ask twice." That was the moment everything shifted. It was subtle at first. No one said anything, just a few glances, some uncomfortable shuffling. Kelsey leaned over and asked if I was still freelancing or whatever it is you do. Then Dad cleared his throat and said very casually that he hoped I'd change my mind about the taxes. Said it again how everyone else had helped. That was it. I stood up and said it. Not loudly, not emotionally, just clearly. That they didn't get to pretend I was part of this family only when it was convenient. That they had made it perfectly obvious for years I wasn't really one of them. That I was good enough to call when they needed help, but not when they were booking cabins on a cruise. And I told them they were selfish. There was silence. Mom blinked at me like I'd spoken a different language. Then she said I was being dramatic. That I was twisting her words. That I always took things the wrong way. Dad muttered that this wasn't the time or place. Kelsey rolled her eyes and told me I'd always had a chip on my shoulder. But then, and this shocked even me, Tyler stood up. He said I was right. Said he'd noticed it too. That I got left out. That they dismissed me. That it wasn't okay. Mom looked like she might cry. Or scream. She told Tyler he didn't understand that there were reasons I wasn't invited to the trips. That I didn't always fit in with the rest of them. I didn't wait for whatever came next. I picked up my bag and walked to the side gate. Tyler followed me. He said he was sorry. That he should have spoken up earlier. I told him it meant more than he probably realized. And then I got in my car and drove home, leaving their perfect backyard behind, still echoing with awkward silence. Tyler called the next morning. Not a text. Not a vague "you good" message. A real phone call. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. He got straight to it. Said he wanted to check on me. Said he'd been thinking about what I said. That I wasn't wrong. I told him I wasn't surprised no one else had reached out. He said I shouldn't expect them to. That after I left, Mom cried for 20 minutes and Dad said I was just trying to create drama. Kelsey apparently had been on fire. Called me bitter. Told Tyler I was clearly jealous of their lives. She'd sent him a wall of texts that night, trying to convince him I'd twisted everything. He didn't respond to her. We talked for a while. About growing up. How every family holiday had this weird, unspoken structure. Tyler was the golden kid, Kelsey was the pride, and I was the background character. Quiet, independent, tolerated. He said he never really saw how obvious it was until that night. And hearing him say it out loud, not in defense, not with a but, meant more than he probably realized. I started seeing things differently after that. Not just the past. The present too. It had been almost 2 weeks since the barbecue and not one word from Mom or Dad. Which was funny considering how eager they'd been to drop by my house when money was involved. I was wrong. Because on a Thursday morning, I woke up to a long, carefully written email from Mom. It wasn't emotional. It was measured. Like she'd gone over it 10 times to make sure it sounded mature and not manipulative. She said she was sorry if I had felt excluded. That she didn't realize the cruise photos would cause hurt. That it had never been their intention to make me feel less important. Then she said something interesting. She said the last few months had been financially difficult. That the property tax situation had become a strain, and that they were exploring options. That was the real reason she reached out. I didn't respond. A few days later another message came. A text this time. She wanted to host a dinner. Just me, her, and Dad. No pressure, she said. Just a talk. I left it unread. Then she called. I let it go to voicemail. Her message sounded softer. More emotional. She said she missed me. That she wanted things to feel whole again. That she'd been thinking about how family should come together in hard times. And there was that line. Hard times. I told Tyler. He just sighed. He said he thought it was all about the house. That maybe they were in over their heads financially. It wasn't about mending anything. It was about securing help. I didn't respond to the dinner invite. That's when she escalated. Another group text. This time to the whole family. She was planning another barbecue. A bigger one, she said. To bring everyone together. Suddenly, the family who forgot I existed was very interested in togetherness. She even added a note at the end. Hope you'll come, Joyce. We'd love to see you. Tyler called me later that day. Said he was only going if I went. That he had no interest in another fake gathering unless I wanted him there. I thought about deleting the message. Ignoring the whole thing. But I couldn't. Not because I wanted to fix things. I didn't. I wanted to be there. I wanted them to see me, the version of me they never bothered to acknowledge. The one who didn't need them anymore. The one who was finally done playing along. I told Tyler I'd go. And this time I wasn't coming to keep the peace. I was coming to burn what was left of it. I arrived 15 minutes late deliberately. Just enough to keep them guessing whether I'd show at all. The backyard looked like a copy-paste of the last one. Same music, same string lights, even the same half-deflated family balloon banner still clinging to the fence like it didn't know the party was over. But this time the vibe was off. Everyone was smiling too hard, talking too loud, like they were all extras in a scene that had already been rehearsed. Tyler spotted me first. He gave me a nod and walked over casually like we were just bumping into each other at the store. Good to see you, he said. I just said, let's see how long the peace lasts. Mom was at the grill, laughing with someone I didn't recognize. When she turned and saw me, she blinked like I'd stepped out of a mirror she wasn't expecting to reflect. Then she smiled like she'd been planning it for days. Joyce. So glad you could make it. I didn't hug her. Just said, sure. The next hour was a weird blend of strange small talk and overcompensation. People I hadn't spoken to in years acted like I was their long-lost best friend. Aunt Marla cornered me with stories about her hip surgery. Kelsey's boyfriend made awkward eye contact like he was trying to remember if I was the one with the bookstore job or the one who moved to Oregon. Kelsey didn't speak to me at all. She stood off to the side, glass of wine in hand, doing her usual thing, laughing a little too loudly at her own stories, reminding everyone of her recent case win, and generally acting like she was accepting an award just for showing up. Then, right after everyone had eaten, Dad clinked his beer bottle on the patio table. Everyone, he said, just a quick minute. I looked at Tyler. He looked back at me confused. Mom stood next to him, holding his arm like a first lady. We wanted to share a bit of news, she said like they were announcing a baby. Dad continued. We've decided to sell the house. People gasped. Some murmured. Mom chimed in with how the market was perfect right now, and how they'd been thinking about it for a while. And then she turned directly toward me. And of course, she said with a gracious smile, Joyce has offered to help with some of the legal and closing costs. It's meant the world to us. I didn't react at first. I just stared at her. And then I started laughing. Loud enough to stop the conversation. No, I said. That didn't happen. People looked around confused. Mom blinked like she couldn't believe I'd said it. You told us you would. No, I cut in. You came to my house, asked for money, I said no. Then you decided to pretend I agreed so you could announce it at your barbecue. Kelsey's boyfriend looked like he wanted to disappear. Mom's face froze in that polite mask expression she always wears when she's lying in public. Kelsey finally stepped in. You're being mean, she said. They're under stress. You could help instead of trying to humiliate them. I turned toward her. You've been the star of this show for years, Kelsey. You helped make me invisible. You think being left out of vacations is normal? You think lying about money is fine? The yard went silent. And then quietly Tyler said, I didn't know they were selling the house either. And I definitely wasn't told Joyce was helping with anything. I'm not comfortable with this either. That was the crack in the whole operation. Dad tried to salvage it, saying it was a miscommunication. Mom still held that smile, but her hands were shaking. I didn't wait for another fake explanation. I'm done, I said. I showed up. That's enough. I grabbed my bag and walked out through the gate. Tyler followed. At my car he asked if I wanted to get a milkshake. Something stupid and easy. Something that didn't feel like damage control. So we went. We sat in the car sipping vanilla shakes like we were teenagers again, not two adults figuring out where the line finally had to be drawn. And for the first time I realized I didn't care if Mom cried or if Kelsey ranted in the group chat. I was done letting them script my part in their family drama. ChatGPT. The next morning my phone was lit up like a fire alarm. Kelsey had written what looked like a carefully crafted press release to the family group chat. Paragraph after paragraph about how disappointed she was in me. How I had publicly humiliated our parents in front of their guests. How I always make everything about myself. She said I was selfish, bitter, and her favorite phrase, consistently divisive. I scrolled through it with no real reaction. This was her pattern. Whenever things didn't go according to her version of reality, she burned the rest of the map. Mom chimed in with a shorter message. Less angry, more weaponized disappointment. She said she was shocked by how I'd behaved. That she didn't know where all this anger was coming from and that I'd misrepresented their intentions. I didn't answer. Tyler didn't either. Instead, he texted me privately. "Dinner at our place tonight?" I said yes. Emily made soup. We sat around their small kitchen table while Tyler passed around a bowl of crackers like we were in a sitcom. They didn't push me to talk. Halfway through dinner, Tyler said he'd spoken to Kelsey earlier. He told her the truth, that he hadn't known about the lie Mom told at the barbecue, and that it made him uncomfortable. That it wasn't the first time things like this had happened, and maybe it was time she stopped pretending everything was fine. Kelsey didn't take it well. She accused him of turning on the family. Said I was manipulating him. But he stood his ground. He told her that for the first time he actually saw things from the outside. Then he looked at me and said, "You were right. About all of it." It meant more than he knew. We talked for a long time that night. Not just about Mom and Dad, but about what it means to finally stop pretending. For the first time it felt like the script had been thrown out. And then 5 days later everything changed. I was at work shelving a new stack of books when the room started spinning. It wasn't dizziness. It was like the floor disappeared. I grabbed the counter, tried to breathe through it, and then everything just dropped. I woke up in the back of an ambulance. They said it was probably stress-related, but they weren't ruling out something neurological. I was kept overnight for tests. Tyler was already there when I was moved to a room. Emily brought a change of clothes, some snacks, and one of those terrible celebrity magazines I secretly love. But what I didn't expect, what truly floored me, was Kelsey. She walked in the next morning with no warning. No dramatic entrance. Just a small bag of toiletries and a coffee. She looked uncomfortable, like she wasn't sure if she'd be allowed to be there. She stayed for an hour. Didn't talk about the barbecue. Didn't bring up the messages. Just sat and asked how I was feeling. That night she came back again. And again the next day. No grand gestures. Just quiet, consistent presence. The shift was subtle but real. We didn't talk about our parents. We didn't need to. They never came. Not a call. Not a visit. Not a single message from Dad. Mom texted a stock image of a bouquet with a message that read, "Thinking of you. Get well soon. Let us know if you need anything." That was it. 3 days after I got out of the hospital, Tyler told me he wasn't speaking to them anymore. Then, to my surprise, Kelsey said she'd blocked Mom after she tried to spin my hospital stay into attention-seeking. We didn't plan to cut them off. It just happened naturally. The weight of pretending finally got too heavy. And somehow the three of us, the original 3 kids who grew up under the same roof but in entirely different emotional universes, ended up closer because of it. No fake holidays. No guilt texts. No trying to earn approval that was never going to come. Just siblings finally free from the version of family we were all supposed to keep up. The doctors never gave me a clear answer. After all the scans, blood work, and poking around, they landed on a catch-all diagnosis that boiled down to one thing. Too much. Too much stress. Too much pressure. Too much of holding it all in. It's not like I was surprised. The first few days home were rougher than I expected. I slept a lot. Barely ate. Just sat in the quiet of my house and tried to process the fact that my own body had finally said enough. But I wasn't alone. Tyler checked in every single day. Never dramatic. Just small things. A house today. Or a photo of his dog curled up on the couch. He dropped by one afternoon with a stack of used books he thought I'd like, and when he left, I realized he never once asked me for anything. He just wanted to be there. Emily came too. She brought tea, vitamin C, and a bunch of random snacks I hadn't had since high school. She didn't hover. She didn't lecture. She just sat and told me stories from work while I lay on the couch, half listening, half healing. And then, surprisingly, Kelsey. At first, I thought it was just a one-time thing. She showed up with a smoothie and that weird energy she always has when she's doing something that makes her uncomfortable but she knows is right. She asked if I needed anything. I said no. She sat anyway. We watched a cooking competition in silence for a full hour. Then she left without making it a moment. But 2 days later she came back. This time with takeout. And then again. And again. She never brought up our parents. Never asked if I'd spoken to them. I hadn't. They never called. Not once. Mom had posted some filtered Instagram story of a flower arrangement with "Healing is a journey" written across it in cursive font. That was her way of acknowledging I'd been in the hospital. Dad posted a photo of their backyard with a caption about "grateful for peace and privacy." They were saying just enough to make themselves look caring without having to actually be. 3 weeks passed. Then a month. One night, Kelsey and I were watching a movie when she paused it halfway through and said something I didn't expect. "I didn't know you were this easy to be around." I looked at her. She didn't say it with malice. It was more like a realization she was saying out loud for the first time. I asked what she meant. He shrugged. I think I believed everything they told me about you. That you were difficult, distant, dramatic. I never actually questioned it. I didn't say anything right away. Then I said, well, I believed what they told me about you too. She laughed. And in that moment I realized something. We were both products of the same machine, just shaped differently. Kelsey got validation. I got silence. She learned to chase approval. I learned to disappear. And now here we were, no parents around, no roles to perform, just two women trying to figure out what kind of sisters we actually were. Later that week, Tyler invited both of us to dinner. We made tacos, spilled salsa everywhere, and ended up sitting on the floor of his living room talking about the weirdest parts of our childhood. The family rules that didn't make sense, the pressure, the favoritism, the things we thought were normal until we got older and saw other families just liked each other. No one said it out loud, but we were grieving. Not our parents, but the version of them we'd hoped they'd be. That hope was gone now. And in its place was something better than any forced holiday or fake family photo. The three of us finally honest with each other. No pretending. No performing. Just people who had made it out of the same storm and were finally choosing each other. Not out of obligation but out of something real. Something that actually felt like love. The final update. It's been 3 months since the hospital. I haven't heard a single word from mom or dad. No calls. No texts. No emails. Nothing. They did send a Christmas card. One of those generic photo ones. A picture of them standing in front of the fireplace with matching sweaters. The only message inside was printed. Wishing you peace and joy this season. No mention of me. No signature. I pinned it to the fridge for a week. Then threw it out. Meanwhile, things with Tyler and Kelsey have only gotten better. I go to Tyler's place every Sunday now. Emily insists. We cook dinner, rotate who brings dessert, sometimes play board games like we're 10 again. It's easy. Light. Kelsey actually invited me over to her apartment last week. First time in years. He made pasta. Overcooked it. We laughed about it for 10 minutes straight. There's no big emotional talks. We've already done that. Now it's just quiet consistency. I still think about my parents sometimes. But I don't miss them. I miss what I wanted them to be. But that version of them never existed. And now that I've stopped trying to chase it, I finally have room for the people who chose to stay.